The date July 20th, 1969 is one that won't be forgotten anytime soon by many Americans. This is because this was the first time Americans had landed on the moon. The Apollo 11 space shuttle, armed with three men by the names of Neil Armstrong, Michael Collins, and Buzz Aldrin, would become one of the most famous space shuttles in the history of the American people. Although Russia had won the space race by launching the first man-made object called Sputnik onto the moon, we had become the first to put a man on the moon, which is a significant accomplishment in the minds of many. This task could not have been completed without the help of many people at NASA, the American people who never lost hope that we could do this, and three very important men whose bravery would make their names legendary.
Mission Commander Neil A. Armstrong was born on August 5, 1930, in Wapakoneta, Ohio. Neil was married and had two children. His education included a B.S. in Aeronautical Engineering from Purdue University in 1955, and an M.S. in Aerospace Engineering from the University of Southern California in 1970. Neil had been command pilot for Gemini 8 in 1966 and would become the first man alongside Buzz Aldrin to set foot on the moon in 1969. Neil later went on to become professor of aeronautical engineering at the University of Cincinnati and serve on both the National Commission on Space and on the Presidential Commission on the Space Shuttle Challenger accident.
Command Module pilot Michael Collins was born on October 31st in the year 1930 in Rome, Italy. He was married and had three children. Collins' education included a B.S. from the U.S. Military Academy in 1952, and his space experience included being pilot for Gemini 10 in 1966. Collins would later retire from Air Force with the rank of Major General, form Michael Collins Associates, write 2 books, and do many other things.
The last man essential to the Apollo 11 mission was lunar module pilot Buzz Aldrin. Buzz, born Edwin Eugene Aldrin Jr., who legally changed his name to Buzz later in his lifetime, was born on January 20, 1930, in Montclair, New Jersey. Just like Collins, Aldrin was married and had 3 children. His education included a B.S. from the U.S. Military Academy in 1951 and a Ph.D. in astronautics from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1963. His spaceflight experience was that he was a pilot of Gemini 12 in 1966. After retiring, Buzz became commandant of the Aerospace Research Pilot School at Edwards AFB in California, and he became a consultant for the Comprehensive Care Corporation in Newport Beach, California.
At 15 seconds, guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Liftoff on Apollo 11.
At 9:32 a.m. on July 16, 1969, the Apollo 11 spaceship launched from the Kennedy Space Center Launch Complex 39, located in Cape Canaveral, Florida. People around the United States watched in anticipation as the rocket soared up into space, embarking on a journey that would never be forgotten. The journey to the moon lasted a little over 3 days, as the American people waited in excitement, listening to any news they could hear about the crew and the mission.
The launch of Apollo 11 was NASA's 5th manned mission and 3rd lunar mission for NASA's Apollo program. President John F. Kennedy stated, "I believe that this nation should commit itself for achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth." As we all know, President Kennedy's goal was achieved on July 20th, 1969, when Apollo 11 landed on the moon.
Okay, engine stop.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed. Roger, Tranquility. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue. We're going to be busy for a minute.
Armstrong is on the moon. Neil Armstrong, 38-year-old American, standing on the surface of the moon. On this July 20th, 1969.
That's one small step for man. One giant leap for mankind. Oh, that looks beautiful, Neil. It has a stark beauty all its own. It's like much of the high desert of the United States. It's different, but it's very pretty out here. Beautiful view. Isn't that something? Magnificent sight out here. Magnificent desolation. Tranquility Base, Houston. Guidance recommendation is pings, and you're cleared for takeoff. Roger, understand. We're number 1 on the runway. 7, 6, 5, engine arm ascent.
This moon landing was extremely important and worthwhile because we had not only beaten the Soviet Union to the moon, we had also been the first country to ever set foot on the moon's surface.
On July 20th, 1969, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first people from Earth to officially set foot upon the moon. Armstrong went first by placing his left foot onto the moon. When taking the first step, Armstrong said, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind." This sentence brought hope and excitement to millions around the country watching. The once insane dream of landing a man on the moon had become an amazing reality.
Michael Collins remained in orbit around the moon, taking pictures and doing research. Meanwhile, Armstrong and Aldrin did experiments, picked up moon rocks and samples, placed our proud nation's flag and a sign that read, "Here men from the planet Earth first set foot upon the moon, July 1969 AD. We came in peace for all mankind, upon the moon's crater surface." They continued this for about 3 hours, until they boarded their lunar module called the Eagle.
Operators at NASA stood by waiting for the arrival of the spacecraft to complete the final part of the Apollo 11 mission. This was fulfilled on July 14, 1969, when Apollo 11 landed safely back on Earth into the Pacific Ocean. The entire mission had gone as planned, and everyone in the country rejoiced at one of our proudest accomplishments and the return safety of the crew members. A huge parade was then thrown in honor of the valiant men.
Right.
Throughout the decades, there's been many controversies surrounding the NASA moon landing. Some people believe it was a waste of time, effort, and money. Others say that we never actually landed on the moon at all. On the other hand, many people look upon this historical event as being a key step into understanding more about space exploration.
Whichever way you look at the moon landing, one thing is for certain. This is an event that helps shape America, spark national pride in our country, and show that dreams can become reality when you work hard and put your mind to it. The NASA moon landing is something that is not soon going to be forgotten, and we should be proud as Americans for accomplishing something of this great importance.
What was it we were really celebrating? 3 men who had done what no man before had done? A technological feat that was believed beyond the realm of possibility? The fulfillment of an age-old dream? Were we celebrating simply because it had been a long time since we'd had anything to celebrate? Or was this something that touched an irrational, unthinking instinct in us all?